Hi, welcome back to my channel, The Entrepreneur Mom. If you're new, I welcome you. I am Fiona Kumapiri, the founder of House of Ariona, Ariona's Kitchen, and the Fitness and Wellness Network. On today's episode, I'm going to be sharing you my experience as an anxiously attached person. If you haven't already watched my episode on attachment style, I encourage you to go back and watch it. Otherwise, I did share how I sometimes feel like I can relate to almost all the attachment styles depending on the relationship that I'm in. It could be with friends, could be with my husband, could be with my kids, my relatives, the community around. So sometimes I feel like I'm an avoidant. Sometimes I feel like I'm anxiously attached. Sometimes I feel like I'm disorganized. I'm all over the place in a certain relationship setting. But overall, I feel like the one that stands out the most for me is the anxiously attached style. So before I knew all about attachment styles, I think I had settled that maybe perhaps this is the way that I am, but I didn't like the quality of relationships that I had or how I was being portrayed, not being portrayed, but how I thought people perceived me, things in some cases where I felt like I was trying to communicate something, and then I would find like my partner or whoever I'm communicating with is getting things differently. And there were certain habits that I didn't know were manipulative, which I thought were normal. I didn't know there were certain things that tendencies or behaviors that were actually not so good for others that I thought were normal. And I think sometimes it's easy to feel like this is the way that I am, you better deal with it. But that again kind of brings about a toxic environment for both you and the other person. So yeah, having gone through this journey of self-discovery, healing, and all that, it's an ongoing process. It's not something that just happens overnight. It's things that today I would discover something about myself that I didn't know. Or basically, I think everyone is blindsided, especially when it comes to their behaviors and how maybe those behaviors might affect other people. Some people do know their behaviors and they do not know what to do about it or how to change or transform. So basically today I'm just going to be sharing how being anxiously attached, or some of the attachment styles that I've noticed within myself in different settings, and how they've affected me in my marriage, being a parent, in business, and just generally socially as well. How have they affected me? How have I dealt with them, having realized this thing, and so on and so forth. So before I knew all about these styles, how did that look like for me in terms of being a wife or being in a relationship with being in a romantic relationship? So I didn't know about being anxiously attached and how that can affect others around me, in the sense that being anxiously attached for me looked like wanting to be in control of things, wanting to constantly be reassured that I'm loved, I'm cared for. I was basically so insecure, and I didn't even know that. I didn't know that I was insecure, and I didn't know that how it was affecting, let's say, for example, my husband. And I think the issue is, especially on the part of not knowing that I was insecure, it came from me feeling like I needed reassurance of being loved, and I thought that that was normal. Like basically, I, for example, entered into romantic relationships believing that my partner was responsible for making me happy. And so if I was unhappy, then the problem was with my partner. It meant that they were doing or not doing something to ensure that I was happy. And so I would resent them, I'd be bitter with them, I would be manipulative, I would be coaxing them to do things that I felt like they would fill in the gap, or they would bring in the happiness. Like, for example, I'll be like, why don't you ever do this for me? And feel like if they did that, then it would make me happy. And then maybe they would end up doing that thing, and I would still feel the void. Like, no, you still you did it, yeah, but maybe you didn't do it the way that I thought that, you know, like expectations and reality are so far apart. And so you still keep blaming them for not making you happy, or for not living up to your expectations. So that's kind of how maybe it looked like in my relationships, like romantic relationships, where my expectations with the person outside of me, the person that I'm in a relationship with, is the one that has to make me happy, make me feel good, make me feel appreciated, make me feel all these things. And so because of that, it became one of those relationships where, for example, maybe my husband would feel like he's not enough because he's doing the best that he can, but no matter what he does, I just don't seem to be happy. So you get, it's like one of those things where I'd be like, why don't you do this? And he does that, and I'm like, but it's not up to the expectations that I had. So that's kind of like how it looked like for me. Another way that my relationships were affected because of me being anxiously attached, like I said, I wanted to be in control of things, because if I'm in control, then I felt like I would be safe. And so that would look like, if, say, for example, my husband says he wants to hang out with his friends, and immediately I would feel like he doesn't want to hang out with me, then something must be wrong with me, or he doesn't love me, because if he loved me, then he would want to be with me, he would want to hang out with me. And so I would throw a grown-up tantrum, and that can look like finding ways to make him stay, finding ways to make him feel bad for wanting to hang out with his friends, just doing things that were manipulative, things that were selfish, but to me I justified, or I found ways to make it seem like it's normal, because I wanted to feel safe. And I felt like if he's going away, then he's taking my safety away with him. And so because of that, it became like one of those things that were not so fun. Like, so in the end, maybe, for example, if he says, fine, I'll stay with you, and then he's there with me, and I don't even know what to do with him. Like, I want him around, but I don't want him around, type of thing. So you can see how at the end of the day, as much as I'm trying to make it seem as though he is responsible for my happiness, and he decides to do what I tell him to do, in the end I'm not satisfied again with what prescription I've given for him to ensure that I am happy. So it becomes a very vicious cycle of trying to control the people around you, the partners around you, just so that you feel safe. But in the end, it kind of leaves you now feeling guilty because the person has ended up doing that which you told them to do, but somehow you are still not satisfied and they are unhappy because they're doing things for you that they are not willing to, but they're just doing it because they don't want to either upset you or they don't want to hurt you, and so on and so forth. In previous episodes, I've often talked about how the anxiously attached person often attracts the avoidant attached person. So in my case, I'm the anxious type and my husband is the avoidant type. So what would happen is I would be so clingy, I would be so wanting constant reassurance, and then in so doing he would feel like he's not doing enough or he's not being enough for me, and because of that he would want to avoid all conflict, and in avoiding the conflict then I would feel like he's avoiding me, which means then he doesn't love me, and so I would keep looking for reassurance in his behavior, in everything, in any way possible to be sure that he really loves me. And the more I did that, the more he felt suffocated and the more he wanted his independence. So you can see it's a continuous or vicious cycle where I'm like constantly pushing towards him and he's pulling away, and that's basically how it kind of looked like in our relationship setting. So I think that most times we think it's normal, and we'll be talking with our girls, with anybody, like, can you believe he did this?